Could a civil war at McLaren hand the title to Max Verstappen on a silver platter? And what's this story about Christian Horner and the four-time champ teaming up to create a new Red Bull at Aston Martin? The 2025 Formula One season is boiling over with behind-the-scenes drama, but before we dive into those complex plots, our focus shifts to Austin, Texas. It's race week once again, and Haas, playing on home turf at the United States Grand Prix, has decided to celebrate its roots in spectacular fashion. The Circuit of the Americas has always been special territory for the American team, and this year is no different. Haas has unveiled an alternate livery for the VF25, a true tribute to its identity. With the caption, "Born in the USA, built for COTA" on their social media, accompanied by an American flag emoji, the team left no doubt about its intentions. The reveal came via a 51-second video, showcasing every angle of the car in its new threads, all set to some upbeat country music. The VF25 will be decked out in red, white, and blue stars and stripes, a clear and proud nod to the American flag and the team's heritage. It's a revamped and even bolder take on the livery we've seen at the most recent US GPs. But Haas won't be relying on looks alone in Austin. Oliver Behrman, coming off an excellent 9th-place finish in Singapore, is optimistic and has hinted that the car will have significant new features. While most teams already have their heads in 2026 and the revolution in chassis and engine regulations, Red Bull proved that continuing development in the current season still pays off. And it seems Haas is following a similar playbook. Behrman commented on the team's momentum. "I feel like we're building momentum each weekend. We know the car is fast, and with another update coming to the VF25 in Austin, I feel like this should be a strong weekend." He also spoke about the excitement of racing at home for the first time as a MoneyGram Haas F1 team driver, highlighting the atmosphere and passion of the American fans. For him, COTA will undoubtedly be one of the highlights of the season. Team principal Io Komatsu shared that enthusiasm. He said, "We're very excited for the United States Grand Prix. COTA always feels like home. It's a busy week with a lot of activities, but with the added fact that it's a sprint, you're running off adrenaline the entire weekend." Komatsu reinforced the team's goal, which is to get both drivers into point-scoring positions, building on Ollie's great result in Singapore. However, he was cautious. "We're bringing a small upgrade package here, but since it's a sprint weekend, we will only have FP1 to evaluate it, so it's even more crucial that we hit the ground running. We're very much looking forward to the challenge." This statement from Komatsu is critical. On a weekend with only one free practice session, any problem with the new package could compromise the entire event, putting immense pressure on the engineers and drivers to collect accurate data in just 60 minutes. Behrman's teammate Esteban Ocon also expressed his excitement. "I'm excited to head back to Austin, especially as a MoneyGram Haas F1 team driver. It is such a cool city with so much energy, and I always look forward to coming back." Ocon knows the importance of a good result at home and the boost the crowd can provide. COTA is a fun but challenging circuit which always produces some entertaining racing. After Singapore, I've been working hard at my training center and on the simulator with the team, aiming to have a strong weekend and maximize every opportunity. I'm looking forward to getting back out there, show off our special livery, and hopefully give our home fans plenty to cheer for. Haas is clearly betting everything on an event that goes far beyond the track. It's a celebration of identity and a quest for results that could define the rest of their season. This push for validation from Haas at their home race is a reflection of what we see across the grid. Every point, every upgrade, and every race becomes crucial, and that's why we dive deep into every detail here on the channel. If you, like us, are passionate about analysis that goes beyond the obvious, that connects the dots and explains the why in Formula One, then you're in the right place. To make sure you don't miss any of our detailed breakdowns, like the ones we'll do on the McLaren controversy and the Red Bull rumors, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Formula News USA. Ringing that notification bell ensures you're the first to know when new content drops. Since we're a growing channel, every single subscription and comment makes a huge difference. It tells the YouTube algorithm that you value this content, helping us reach more F1 fans just like you.
So let us know in the comments, what do you think of this new Haas livery? And tell us what city you're watching from. It's awesome for us to see how far our community reaches.
And speaking of a buzzing paddock and the future of the teams, let's move on to one of the most explosive rumors that has circulated recently, a theory that, if it comes to fruition, could redraw the balance of power in Formula One. The speculation was floated by Riccardo Patrese, a 6-time Grand Prix winner and a figure who describes himself as a friend of Christian Horner. Patrese laid out a scenario where Horner and Max Verstappen, the duo that dominated the sport, reunite, but this time at Aston Martin. The idea would be to create what he called the new Red Bull, right there in Silverstone. Patrese's theory goes beyond a simple team swap. He believes Horner could have an impact similar to that of Michael Schumacher when he decided to leave Benetton for Ferrari at the end of 1995. It was a move that shocked the motorsport world at the time. Schumacher didn't go alone. He took key figures from Benetton with him, like Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne, to build a winning team in Maranello. The result? 5 consecutive world championships and the creation of one of the greatest dynasties in the sport's history. Patrese sees a clear parallel. Horner could do the same at Aston Martin, taking his star driver, Verstappen, with him to build a new empire, especially with the major regulation changes on the horizon. It's important to remember the context. Christian Horner's departure from Red Bull was made official last month after months of internal turmoil. It was revealed that Horner and Red Bull reached a settlement agreement believed to be worth around $100 million. That agreement could free the British team principal to return to Formula One even before the second half of next year, making him one of the most sought-after assets on the market. We know that all 4 of Verstappen's titles were won under Horner's leadership, but that era of dominance has come to an end. With the 2025 championship proving to be a much tougher challenge and McLaren currently in the lead, the Dutchman's title streak seems destined to be broken. Patrese commented directly on the Schumacher comparison. He took all the best pieces from Benetton to go to Ferrari to build a winning team. I can see a similar situation happening with Verstappen. They talk for sure. If this is what he thinks could happen, probably yes. Horner could certainly go there and make a new Red Bull team at Aston Martin. Of course, there's an obvious obstacle to this theory: the deteriorated relationship between Christian Horner and Max's father, Jos Verstappen, which was one of the major subplots of Horner's last 18 months at Red Bull. But Patrese has a pragmatic view on this. He compares Horner and Jos to a divorced couple, saying that divorce doesn't necessarily mean eternal conflict. Maybe after 2, 3, 4 years, Christian Horner and Jos Verstappen become friends again, Patrese pondered. He believes that if the possibility of building a championship-contending team is real and Max could be the driver to win again, Jos would put their disagreements aside. In Patrese's own words, "As a father, I should say, forget all my aggravation and let my son go and have the best opportunity." The timing of this rumor is no coincidence. Starting in 2026, Formula One enters a new era with drastic changes to the chassis and engine regulations. Red Bull will begin developing its own engine in partnership with Ford, a high-stakes gamble. If Red Bull doesn't start this new phase on the right foot, Verstappen's future with the team will surely be called into question again. Aston Martin, on the other hand, will have a works partnership with Honda, the same Honda that powered Verstappen to his titles. The pieces seem to fit together in a very intriguing way. However, for now, the official word is that Horner is not in active discussions to return to the sport, and his current focus is on spending time with his family. But in the complex chess game of Formula One, a period of silence is often just the calm before the storm. And while some are thinking about moving house, others are fighting desperately just to keep theirs. And that desperate fight for survival at the pinnacle of Formula One has a very clear name right now: Yuki Tsunoda. After years in the junior team, he finally got his long-awaited promotion to Red Bull Racing. But the seat next to Max Verstappen is perhaps the hottest and most pressurized in all of sports. And after a season of highs and lows, struggling to match his teammates' pace, Tsunoda is under immense pressure to keep his spot, not just on the main team, but within Red Bull's demanding driver program. Recently, however, we've seen a glimmer of improvement, a sign that the Japanese driver may have found a path forward.
There was a 7th place on the grid at the Belgian Grand Prix, points at Zandvoort, and most importantly, his best performance in a Red Bull yet in Azerbaijan, with an excellent 6th place finish in the race. That was Tsunoda's best result since his 4th place at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, a feat that showed the talent is still there. However, this improvement was followed by a disappointing weekend in Singapore, where he qualified only 13th and finished the race 1 spot higher, showing that consistency is still his biggest challenge. But what changed to help him find that performance in Baku? The answer lies in a subtle but fundamental shift in philosophy. Tsunoda himself explained that after giving up part of his August break to work in the simulator, he began a gradual transition towards Max Verstappen's car setup. He told the media, "Since day one, I was only focusing on what I wanted from the car, rather than trying to chase Max's setup." However, he realized he needed to understand why Verstappen could extract the maximum from the machinery in almost any condition. Over time, as he adapted more to the Red Bull car and was able to drive more on the limit, his style and setup preferences naturally began to get closer to the Max setup, which he says is a good sign. This is an important admission. It shows maturity and the understanding that sometimes you need to adapt to the philosophy of the team and its lead driver to unlock your own potential. The problem is that time may be running out. The head of Red Bull's driver program, Helmut Marko, has already indicated that the final decision on the 2026 driver pairings will be made in October at the latest. And the inconsistent performance in Singapore didn't help Tsunoda's case. Former driver and now commentator Sam Bird on the BBC podcast was even harsher. He said, "It's only a matter of time now before he vacates that seat. It's a matter of when, not if." Bird even suggested that Red Bull could give a chance to young Isak Hajar in the last 6 races of the season, so he could get acclimated to the main team without pressure, preparing for the future. That's the level of threat Tsunoda's facing. The line of young talents like Hajar, Arvid Lindblad, and others is long, and Red Bull has never hesitated to make abrupt changes. Despite the external pressure, Tsunoda claims he knows what he needs to do. "The thing I have to do is quite clear. I've just shown one especially good one, like P6 in Baku, without relying on luck." And he may have an unexpected and very powerful ally in his corner. With Horner's departure, his old boss at Racing Bulls, Laurent Maki, took over at Red Bull Racing. Tsunoda revealed the immediate impact Maki's had. He shared that Maki's, with his deep knowledge of Yuki's driving style, suggested to the Red Bull engineers a setup approach he used constantly at VKRB. "When I tried it in the Red Bull car, it actually still worked, and the feeling from the car became much more familiar," Tsunoda explained. "Without probably Laurent's idea, I wouldn't be able to come up with that idea." This connection could be his lifeline, a bridge between his raw talent and the complexity of the Red Bull car. The question hanging in the air is, will this improvement, driven by a new understanding of the car and the support of an old acquaintance, be enough to convince Marko and Red Bull that he deserves to stay? Or is it too little, too late? Tsunoda's battle for survival is a drama in itself, but it pales in comparison to the war brewing within the team leading the championship. And this internal battle, this war that could define the Drivers' Championship, has a first and last name: McLaren. With Oscar Piastri leading the World Championship by 22 points over his teammate Lando Norris, and with only 6 Grands Prix remaining, the Woking-based team has everything it needs to clinch its first driver's title in years. However, what should be a celebration of the team's success is turning into a battlefield, with accusations of favoritism growing with each race and setting social media on fire. The tension is palpable. The controversy gained enormous weight when 1978 world champion Mario Andretti added more fuel to the fire. In an interview, Andretti accused McLaren of blatantly favoring Lando Norris over Oscar Piastri. The flashpoint for these comments was the controversial Singapore Grand Prix. On the opening lap, Norris made an aggressive move at turn 3, diving down the inside, making contact with his teammate, and taking the position. Piastri, furious, demanded over the radio that the team order the position to be given back, but neither the stewards nor McLaren took any action. For a legend like Andretti, the situation was clear. I like Piastri for his grit, but it seems to me that at McLaren, for some reason, I don't know why, they favor Lando Norris. While McLaren deals with this internal crisis, former driver Johnny Herbert is sounding an alarm the team cannot ignore. He warns that while the two McLaren drivers are fighting each other, a four-time world champion is quietly closing in. Max Verstappen, even in a Red Bull that lacks the dominance of previous years, is not out of the fight. Since Red Bull introduced a new floor at the Italian GP, Verstappen has consistently chipped away at Piastri's lead. In the last 3 races, he has claimed 2 victories and a second place. The gap, which was once 104 points, has now been cut to 63. Herbert is categorical. You can't rule out Max, and because this battle's going on with Oscar and Lando, there's a potential for points to be taken away from them, which happened in Singapore. Max took points off the 2 McLaren drivers. The civil war in Woking could end up delivering the trophy to Milton Keynes. But the million-dollar question is, does this accusation of favoritism really hold up under a colder, more detailed analysis? The answer is complex. McLaren's philosophy of letting them race seems to be genuine. There have been moments where different strategies benefited Norris, like in Hungary, where he switched to a one-stop and managed to beat Piastri. But in Belgium, the situation was reversed. The most telling case was at Monza, where Norris, who was faster, agreed to let Piastri, who was behind, pit first to cover Ferrari. A slow pit stop for Norris put Piastri ahead, and the team asked Oscar to give the position back, which he did, albeit reluctantly. It was an example of both drivers working for the team. Where the scales seem to tip, however, is in luck. Norris has suffered much more from mechanical misfortune. A brake issue in China and an engine failure at Zandvoort cost him, by some estimates, about 18 points. Those 18 points account for most of the 22-point advantage Piastri currently holds. And what about the infamous slow pit stops? McLaren admits they have a hardware issue with their wheel guns that won't be fully fixed until 2026. But an analysis of all the pit stops this season shows that the bad luck has been distributed equally. Norris's average stop time is 3.02 seconds, while Piastri's is 2.9 seconds. The data simply doesn't support a theory that one side of the garage is being more disadvantaged than the other. What is clear is that aside from an apparent reluctance to criticize Norris's aggression in Singapore, there are no glaring examples of favoritism. McLaren can be accused of being clumsy and overly controlling and trying to ensure fairness, but not of being malicious. Ultimately, how McLaren manages its 2 talents in these final races will not only decide the 2025 champion, but will also define the future of one of the most promising pairings on the grid. And now, your opinion is what matters most to us. Whose side are you on in this battle? Do you think McLaren is making a mistake by letting its drivers fight so freely? Leave your full analysis in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the F1 headlines, the single best way to support Formula News USA is to subscribe to the channel and share this video with another F1 fan. Every comment, like, and new subscriber helps our community grow, and it ensures we can keep bringing you this kind of detailed content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.